Thanks for joining 31 Days to Love Your Lettering. Day 1, Creating a Lettering Notebook. For your notebook, you have a few options. The least expensive is a graph-ruled composition book. They can be found at Walmart, Target, and Staples, as well as online. Before using a new notebook, I like to break it in so that it will lie flat when writing. Open it to the center seam and press the seam flat. Then work the outer binding and flip to the front of the book, allowing that to stretch flat and the back as well, flipping pages from front to back and from back to front. If you're able to invest a little bit more in your lettering notebook, I highly recommend the Rhodia Dot Pad. The paper quality is far superior to the composition book, and that will help keep your pens working smoothly longer. Another option is this graph paper notebook that I found at Staples, or a pad of graph paper. This pad is reversible. One side has 4 squares per inch, and the other side has 5 squares per inch. The paper quality is very similar to the composition book, and you may want to prep it the same way. With the thickness of the Rhodia pad, I'm not worried about bleed through, except for when we get to watercoloring later in week 4. To avoid bleed through in the composition book, I'm going to use washi tape to adhere the edges of 2 pages together. I use the grid as a guide to keep the washi tape straight and adhere it at the edge with sticky side going over. Then flip the page, being sure you only have 1 sheet. Then carry up a second sheet, working from the center out, and fold the washi tape over and adhere it from the center to each edge. I like to do a few pages at a time and then trim those edges along the curve of the paper with a good pair of scissors. While it's not necessary to adhere 2 sheets of the Rhodia pad together, you may want to add a washi tape border just to personalize your lettering notebook. In the composition book, it helps to prevent bleed through but it also makes it look a little special. The next thing to work on today is adding a title page if you choose, as well as starting your affirmation page to encourage you along this lettering journey. For my title page, I'm using a few different techniques that will be covered throughout this whole series. You can wait to add your title page after you've learned a few of these techniques, or you can choose to download the sheet that I've provided for you. Next, you'll use your favorite pen or the fine liners that you've gotten for this project to start your affirmation page. I've been working at calligraphy and creative lettering for a couple of decades, but I know that it's still a learning process and there can be frustrations along the way. Putting together an affirmation page just gives you some words that you can flip back through and encourage yourself along this journey. It's also a good way to compare where you've started to where you end up. The biggest goal of this series is not working towards perfection. It's not learning my lettering style. It's to equip you with the techniques you need to progress and to learn to love your own handwriting and develop your personal lettering styles. Throughout the series, you'll return to this page and add more things as you need extra words along the way. In our next session, We'll learn to identify our natural handwriting strengths and areas for improvement.